Hey everyone, thanks for staying tuned to my reviews, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Woman in Black. So, The Woman in Black stars Daniel Radcliffe, and it's basically the story about a depressed man who has just lost his wife. He's having to look after his young 4-year-old son, and he's on the verge of losing his job. So he's given a last chance at his job to go to this old house far away, can't remember where, to examine the documents of the house. And when he gets there, all the people who live in the village nearby are like, oh, don't go to the house, don't go to the house, all this. And then from then on, shit goes down at the house, and it's pretty spooky stuff. So The Woman in Black is the sort of horror film that you do not see much anymore. Nowadays, most horror films rely entirely on gore to scare the viewer. You know, most recently in the Saws, the Hostels, and they just come across as pretty weak, to be honest. Whereas The Woman in Black takes the complete opposite approach and tries to scare you using lots and lots of tension and a very unsettling atmosphere. Now, I've been looking forward to The Woman in Black since I first heard about it. I read about it in Total Film, I saw the trailer, and I was incredibly excited. Anyone who knows me knows that the only thing that scares me in horror films is ghosts. It really is. And everything in this looked perfect. The atmosphere looked unsettling. The visuals looked very striking, very gothic look to it. And I also read that it was influenced by Japanese horror films, and most people know that Asian horror films are my favourite in the world, so surely this film has to be good, doesn't it? Well, I'll just put your minds at rest. This film is good. It is a good ghost story, but it does fall flat in certain areas of the film, especially in the first half. But I will get to that, and I'm going to start off with Daniel Radcliffe's acting. I'm not a big Daniel Radcliffe fan. I've seen the Harry Potters, and I wasn't too keen on him. I mean, it's not his fault. I'm sure he was fine. It's just not my thing. In this, he's good. He plays the part very well. His performance is very low-key, very subtle. But this is great. It adds to his character. And nowadays, you see a lot of people in horror films overacting and going screaming at the littlest things. So yeah, I appreciated his performance. I thought it was very realistic. The rest of the cast were fine. There's not really any other famous faces in it, but this is very much Radcliffe's film. The majority of the time in this film is spent with Radcliffe on his own in this house. And when other characters do come into it, they are fine. Everyone acts well in this film. But as I say, if Daniel Radcliffe's acting wasn't good, this film would have been a disaster, and luckily he is brilliant. The only thing about Radcliffe's character that I didn't buy was the fact that he had a 4-year-old son. He just did not look old enough, and I know everyone's going on about this, but it is true. He just didn't look old enough. Visually, this film is very beautiful. It's got a very gothic look about it, and the house itself is really creepy. I mean, the design of it, yeah, it looks great. It looks really old, really Victorian. But the toys within this house are so frightening. There's like porcelain dolls, little clapping monkeys, and just, oh, creepy stuff. Now, unlike most horror films, this film does not try and scare you with gore. There is barely a drop of blood in this film. This film uses 3 different things. It uses a very, very unsettling atmosphere, lots of tension, and jump scares. Now, 2 of these things work brilliantly, but one of them falls a little flat and appears quite cheap. Now, the first half of this film is very slow paced. It relies entirely on its atmosphere to sort of absorb you into the film. But unfortunately, this atmosphere is spoiled by some cheap jump scares. Why these were necessary, I do not know. There is about 5 jump scares in the first half of the film, and not one of them is worth talking about. They're all very cheap, all very predictable as well. There's one bit with a bird. It's just cheap stuff, and I was not impressed by this. I was almost ready to walk out the cinema because I thought, if this film is just going to be cheap jump scare after cheap jump scare, then I don't care. But luckily, when it gets to its second half, things really, really pick up. For the film's second half, it keeps this spooky atmosphere, but then it adds tons and tons of tension. And tension is something that I find severely lacking in a lot of horror films, and this uses it to perfection. There are jump scares in it, but they don't appear as cheap in the second half. A lot of them are unpredictable. A few are predictable, but they're fun. The sort of ones that, you know, when you jump, you'll have a laugh with your friend about it. In the first half, I was just going, You know, why? Why? We don't need that jump scare. Right, now I'm going to do a quick spoiler section, so if you have not seen this film, do not watch this part. I'm going to reveal the ending, I'm going to reveal one thing that I thought was really bad about the film, and it might not spoil it, but still, please do not watch this part if you have not seen the film. The first thing I did not like about this film was the ending. Now, I don't know if you guys thought this as well, but I thought the ending was just too Hollywood, and I just genuinely did not like it. I just thought it was poor. Wasn't frightening, wasn't shocking, wasn't even that sweet, to be honest. It was just, I didn't like it. I thought they should have ended it, just maybe, I don't know, maybe when Daniel Radcliffe jumps onto the tracks to save his son, and just maybe leave it there. Maybe that would work, I don't know. Or maybe they just change it altogether and do something different. The woman herself is frightening in this film, I thought. Don't know whether you guys did as well. Well, when she had the veil over her head, I thought she was terrifying. But then when they showed her face and she was screaming and, you know, flying at the camera, I just thought, you know, it's a bit, you know, it's not that great. It's a bit rubbish, really. You know, her face looked pretty CGI, and it just didn't look as frightening as when she had the veil down. It really didn't. But luckily, that's only like one scene from the film, so yeah, I'm not going to complain too much. Generally, this film was quite frightening. Right, that's the end of the spoiler section. So just to sum everything up, The Woman in Black is a very good horror film. I don't think you'll find a better ghost story this year. And to be honest, they don't make many horror films about ghosts, and well, really good, well done horror films about ghosts anymore. So I would give this a watch, really, give it a chance. The film is never terrifying, I just want to make that clear. It's disturbing, and it's jumpy, and it is quite unsettling, but there's never any points in it where you just cower back, you know, in your seat, and like, oh, this is, you know, it's terrifying. But if you can overlook the fact that it does have a number of cheap jump scares, and the woman in it shows up a bit too much to make her incredibly terrifying, it gets a bit boring after a while, then I'm sure you can have a lot of fun with this, and I would give this probably a 3.5 out of 5. I'm going to start reviewing my films out of 5, and it's going to be 5 Dans, and very soon I'm going to have a picture of my face, my beautiful face, smiling or unhappy. So if I was going to have a picture for this one, it would be... Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.